welcome back to my channel. It's Ashley here, and if you are new, hey girl, hey. So in this video today, I am going to be showing you how you can take old framed out wood art signs, or just a sign in general, because one of the signs that I have is just like a saying. It has like a saying on it and it's wood framed out, and the other one is a wood frame and it's just like some cute little wall art. So anyways, any type of sign that you have like this in your house and you're like, okay, I need to toss it out, I need a new one, I'm gonna show you today how you can just keep it, repurpose it, and change it into something totally different. So actually not really totally different, but like a different style. So today's video is sponsored by Cricut, so I am going to be using my Cricut machine to show you guys how you can do that. Super easy. You know, I do not do any very hard DIYs when it comes to using my Cricut. Also, I'm excited because the style that I'm going for today is retro. So let's go ahead and start with these DIYs. So before we get started with the DIYs, I really just want to talk to you guys real fast about the Cricut, because I know some people don't know what a Cricut is. So the Cricut is a cutting machine that cuts tons of different materials. The materials I'm going to show you today in this particular video is it cutting veneer and also vinyl. I'm also going to be showing you guys Design Space, which is a free software that comes with your Cricut, and I'm going to show you how you can use that to create your designs and then send it to your machine for it to cut. So let's go ahead and dive into these DIYs. Okay, so for our first sign, these particular type of wood frames are very easy to pop out those center portions. So literally if you just push them, they'll come out. So I have detached the frame from the center, and now I am going to be lifting up and getting rid of the grateful part, because I can use this in a future DIY. So as you can see, I am using my heat gun to heat up that glue and remove the grateful. Very easy to do. You just really have to take your time when you have stuff like this, because you want to go fast, but it's just like, I gotta go slow. So anyways, I removed this part, and then as soon as I removed that, the next thing I did was I took my orbital sander and I just sanded smooth the center part here. So I sanded that first, and then I came in with the 400 grit again to smooth everything out to get this ready for me to spray paint. All right, so after I was done with that, I started to kind of like bend the sign back into place, because it was kind of like bowing a little bit. I don't know why, it was super weird. But I started to bend that back in place, and then now I am going to spray paint this. So I first started to spray paint this the heirloom white. You guys know I love this color. But then I just changed my mind, and I decided to do a rustic pink, which you guys will see later on when we continue this. But I do like to keep footage like this in, so you guys can see that I always change my mind, because it's just something that we do, right? So yes, I did do like 4 coats of this, let it dry, and then we're gonna move on to the next step. Okay, so right now I'm just taking my ruler and I'm kind of like measuring the width and the length to see how much room I have to work with in Design Space. So now we're gonna hop into Design Space. So hopping into Design Space, the first thing I did was I came into images. So I told you guys we're doing a retro style here. So I typed in groovy and I found these really cool glasses, well, sunglasses, and I decided to use them. So I'm going to add them to my canvas. And then I brought them into my canvas here, and I just kind of like sized them down a little bit because I knew they weren't going to be that large. And then the next thing that I did was I got rid of the little squigglies in the middle, because I know that I'm not going to need them. So all I did was I hit the eyeball and I just hid all of those layers. So once I hid those layers, I did come over here back onto the little canvas that I'm going to be using, and I am measuring how big I want these sunglasses to actually be. So once I got that, I came back into Design Space and I sized this to like a 9.5, I think it was, that I used, and then I started to cut this out by hitting Make It. So once I hit Make It and I came into the screen that prompts you on like your materials and mats and all that, I pressed on the mat, because I will be printing this out on, well, cutting this out on the mat. And then I'm going to make sure that my sunglasses are within the red lines. And then after that, I am actually going to be using the thin veneer, which I love to use. I'm going to be using that to cut out my sunglasses. So I picked that setting, and then now I'm going to let my Explorer cut my sunglasses out. Okay, so now I was first going to use my strong grit matte, and then I was like, nah, because the veneer is way too thin. And the last time I did that, it like tore it up. So I'm using my light grit. So I added the veneer onto my light grit matte, and then I'm going to take some painter's tape, and I'm just going to tape the top and the bottom to make sure that it stays into place. After after I taped it, I just used my brayer to make sure that this was really nice and secure onto my mat. And then of course I let the Cricut cut my sunglasses out. So after the Cricut was done cutting this out, I think it did about 3 passes. I just removed the excess, and then I started to use my X-Acto knife to kind of remove everything. I could not find my spatula, but I mean, an X-Acto knife will work too. So I just removed this from my mat, and then this is what the sunglasses look like. Really, really cool. So after I cut the sunglasses out, I came back into Design Space, and now I'm going to cut out a solid copy of the sunglasses, if that makes sense. So I literally just took this, I selected everything, and then I welded it all together. So as you can see, it's just solid sunglasses, because the backing, I'm going to use some wallpaper for that. So I'm going to do that same thing. I'm going to be putting on my mat, making sure it's within the red lines, and then I'm going to get this to cut it out on my Cricut. Okay, so since I just explained that, I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So I'm using this sticker cardstock, and I'm going to take this removable wallpaper, and I'm just going to place that on top. So I literally just sized it up, made sure it was the same size as the sticker cardstock, and I cut the square out exact. After I got everything nice and cut, the next thing I did was I attached my removable wallpaper to the actual cardstock. So I don't know where that footage went, but literally it's just like if you use a removable wallpaper and you stick it on your wall. I just stuck it on the cardstock. So then now I'm going to be using my light grip mat, and I'm just going to add that on, and then I'm just going to cut off the excess that I don't need. Then, just as I showed you on my Cricut machine, the Cricut cut this out. So it cut the little solid sunshades out. So first I did do a setting of just like removable wallpaper, I think. And then that didn't really work, because when I peeled it off, it literally was just peeling off the removable wallpaper, and I needed it to cut out the cardstock too. So I just came back and I let it cut out the setting of the veneer again. So I did those 3 passes, and then it was easier for me to lift it all up. So since I did it wrong the first time, I just literally just added the removable wallpaper back on, but then I had to do this 2 more times, so I did it correctly the 2 other times. So after I did that, now I'm just going to take some my spray adhesive, and I'm going to spray my sunglasses, and then I'm going to add those sunglasses on top of that removable wallpaper, so to have this cool design coming through, which this design really reminds me of like the 70s. It has those vibes, the colors and everything. So now you see what this looks like. It looks really good. And now I'm going to use my brayer to kind of just make sure that this is nice and smooth on here. So after I did that, like I said, I did this 2 more times, spraying the adhesive and then adding it on to the removable wallpaper. And then it was time for us to put the whole sign together, or for me to put the whole sign together. So like I said, I'm gonna be adding everything to the frame. So first of all, the frame is perfect, nothing is wrong with it. So all I had to do was slide in my little center part back into the frame. And then once I did that, I just pulled out the little nails that was already in there from, you know, of course, when the sign was all put together. And then after I did that, I just added, of course, the center portion back inside. After that center portion was back inside, I started to add my sunglasses. So I kind of like placed them to see how I wanted them on here. I knew I wanted them to be vertical. And so after I got them into placement, all I had to do now was just peel off that backing, y'all, and then pop these right into place. So again, making sure they're nice and centered before I actually push these down. Well, make sure they're nice and secure onto my frame. And then once I got them nice and centered and looking good, I took my brayer and I smoothed these down onto the center. All right, and that is it for this one. This one was so easy to put together. It's so fun, lots of contrast going on and very retro. So I just love how this sign turned out. It is so cute. All right, so moving along to sign number 2. So I basically did that same thing. I cleaned this sign up a little bit, popped it out, because like I said, it's so easy to remove these from these type of signs. And then I actually spray painted this the same color that that you guys just saw, which is that rustic pink. So I did about 3 or 4 coats of this and I let it dry. All right, so after that, again, I'm coming back into Design Space, and now they have this new thing where it says phrases. So I'm gonna go in phrases and I'm going to be typing in good vibes. So again, I'm going to be using and looking for anything that is like retro, back in the day, old school, and I found this really cool one. So once I found this one, because there's so many to choose from, I just chose this one because it was perfect. I'm gonna bring that in. So another thing is, if you see the scissors, you can cut them. If you see a printer, you can print them. If you see the scissors or the little pencil, you can print or write them, which is really cool. So anyways, I chose the one that I'll be able to cut. So I brought that into my canvas, and then now I'm not really going to need that back part, so again I'm going to hide it. So now I just have this good vibes only part. Now I'm just going to size it to the size that I need. Again, I came in, figured out like how large my sign was, how large I needed this to be, and then I sized this to the size that would look good. So after I did that, this particular one, I'm going to be using the Smart Materials. So I'm going to do without a mat, and I am going to be cutting it just without the mat. So anyways, I'm going to come out. Again, you want to make sure this is within the red lines. It's 14 inches, a little bit over 14 inches, but I needed to be a little bit bigger than that. So I came in and I changed it to 16 so that I'll have some more room. And then that was perfect. And then I'm going to come in and cut this out with my removable vinyl. So again, I let my Cricut do its thing and it cut out my design. So after that, so as you can see, I did use black. I first used black and then I started to weed everything out, which I'm gonna show you though that it was better for me to show you guys like this than how if I was to use the white that I'm gonna use. But anyways, I started to weed everything out again using my weeding tool, carefully removing all of the parts that I needed to remove. So after I did that, I did add this on to my little center part, but then I didn't like the fact that it was black, although it did look very good. I just didn't like the fact that it was black and I really wanted it to be cohesive with the first sign. So I decided to go ahead and print this out on a white vinyl. So boom, here we are with the white vinyl, and now I am just going to make sure this is nice and centered before I put this on. Honestly, I did put this on the floor and then I added it to the sign that way. Brought it back onto my table, used my brayer to make sure it was nice and flat and there was no bubbles, and then I removed my transfer tape. The transfer tape that I did use was just a regular transfer tape because I didn't want to use the strong transfer tape because I really didn't want to risk any of the paint coming off. Although, I mean, I felt like it wouldn't, but just to be on the safe side, I did use just the regular transfer tape and not a strong transfer. So after I was done with that, I rubbed it again with my brayer to make sure it was nice and smooth, and then I started to work on the frame. So the frame part, I literally just needed to clean it up just a little bit, but nothing was really wrong with it, but it did have a little flyaways. So I just took my 400 grit and kind of sanded it a little bit, took my microfiber cloth and smoothed everything out. And then I added my center part back onto the frame. So as you can see, the back of the frame, I tried something else, y'all, and it just, I didn't like it. So anyways, I popped that back in the frame, and then once I got that popped in the frame, I just took my nail gun and I nailed this back. But before I did nail it back, just like I did the other one, I did have to remove the prior nails that it had in here. So I just removed those, and then I came in and I nailed this back on to the frame. All right, y'all, and that is it for this sign. Ooh, I love this. Again, good vibes only. Love this sign, super cute. All right, y'all, so that is it for this video. Oh my gosh, do I love both of these signs. I hope you guys do too. Literally, this is not even a style that I would normally do, but I just love how these turned out. So glad I tried it out. Very easy to do on a Cricut machine. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. Make sure, if you aren't subscribed to my channel, you click on that subscribe button so you'll always be up to date with my latest tutorials. And I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.